Hey guys, kinggath here with another patch for Sim Settlements. This is patch 4.0.5, which I'm calling War Games. Now, this patch name doesn't begin to explain what's in this. This is probably our biggest patch in a long time, especially our biggest patch since post-Conqueror has launched. There is so much stuff going on in here, and that's just because the team kind of finished up a whole bunch of stuff at once. So let's start with what I think is going to be the most important feature, and that is that you'll notice that these two raiders have different names, and that's because we have implemented a ranking system. So as your soldiers do combat in those assaults or on the defense quests that Conqueror handles, and you'll know those ones because they're different from the vanilla raids in that they will probably have a lot more enemies, and they also will have a full quest pop up in the corner telling you to defend the settlement as opposed to just a miscellaneous objective. And those, when your soldiers fight during them, will start to gain experience, and then eventually you'll see them level up. There's actually a little visual animation and sound effect when it happens. That can be disabled if you find it unimmersive, but you will find over time that they will start to get new ranks and therefore have new names. And the support for this is available for the faction packs as well. They will need to define those, and I had actually mentioned that in the Faction Leaders Toolkit already that this was coming, so some of them may have prepared for it already and they won't need to make any changes in that regard. But I've also made another change to the way the ranks work. So right now, if you weren't to change anything in the faction packs, all of the troops can level up can rank up rather. I don't want to say level up. They rank up, and the ranks include a name change as well as a buff. So they'll gain additional health and damage output. Then when they reach rank 5, they actually become legendary. And that, in the form of Conqueror, what that means is they can no longer permanently die. So your goal will be to try and get your troops up to legendary so that you just have this badass set of guys who aren't going to pass or aren't going to die in combat. And what instead will happen is when they go down in a battle, you can then stim pack them and bring them back up. So to help you get your guys to survive to that point, we've added some new plots. So one of the goals long-term with Conqueror is to completely change the way your outposts feel. We want to give you more options so that you're not stuck with outposts that basically just feel like settlements with a different settler type. So we're starting by taking the recreational and martial plots and giving them new subtypes. Now, what do I mean by new subtypes? Well, if you think about commercial, they're currently the only plot with a subtype, and that means that the commercials building plans are all divided into one of a bunch of different types. So those would be things like bars or weapon stores or clinics, etc. So we're going to start dividing up the martial and recreational plots into those same types of things. So with this patch, we've introduced 2 new subtypes for martial and 1 new subtype for recreational. So the new subtypes for martial are field hospital and armory, and then the new subtype for recreational is mess hall. Now what these subtypes do is when those are in your outposts, they will provide an extra benefit to your soldiers. So the field hospital gives a chance that any of your troops that would normally die during combat instead are just downed, and then they can be rescued. So you can then stim pack them, or at the end of combat, they will just stand back up again. So essentially, there's a small % chance they won't die. This chance goes up the higher level the hospital is in the outpost that those soldiers are from. Next up is the armory, and this is one of the things that ties into the ranks. So what the armory does is at level 1, it will, when those soldiers go to combat, they will be equipped with an outfit that matches their rank. And this is something else that the faction toolkit or the faction pack authors can configure for each of their individual factions. We've obviously configured it for Jammer's Gang built into Conqueror. And then at level 2, they will also gain a new weapon that will be provided by the armory. And then at level 3 of the armory, they will begin to be handed out new equipment before each battle. So that could be things like grenades or stim packs or chems or some combination thereof. And the higher the rank of soldier in Jammer's Gang, at least, the better the equipment will be. And I assume the faction pack authors will do something similar of setting up the equipment to get better and better as they rank up. Then lastly, we've got the mess hall, and what the mess hall will do is that any of the soldiers from that settlement before they go in combat will eat some food and get a buff. So those buffs include things like extra damage resistances, additional max health, increases to their melee damage, things like that, and the buff is stronger the higher the level of that mess hall. So these 3 subtypes are available to add-on pack authors. In fact, I already let them know about a week ago that this feature was coming so that they could start to design things in that regard. So keep an eye out for them to release updates to their mods with some of these new plot types. Now, these plots also, or these building plans rather, still do provide the normal benefits. So a field hospital will still provide defense, same with an armory, and the mess hall will still provide happiness. So if you want to use these in your non-outpost settlements, you absolutely can. These are meant to be used for both. They just are in particular designed to provide an extra benefit for outposts, because again, we want to encourage you guys to have a different feel to your outposts than your settlements. And because I knew this feature was coming and was going to be so important, not to mention I don't want bugs in the mod, I made sure in this patch to fix the issue that could come up with swapping plot types where they could get stuck. So some of you may have found out that sometimes in the city plans, when you would use the customized plot option to change one plot type to another, that the plot could then get stuck and wouldn't finish its building. That has been fixed and confirmed. So you'll be able to go into your conquered outposts and swap some of the plot types you don't want into martial plots or recreational plots, so you can make sure that you get access to these new bonuses for any attacks you run from those new outposts. Now, those are 2 huge features, and those should have a huge impact on the way your attacks go, and they should make it easier for you to get an army that you can invest in and feel like you're helping them survive and seeing it grow. But that's not all we've added in this patch. So while that was something that happened due to just the good fortune of having certain plots designed in time, which that's all thanks to Uit, who has been busting his butt and making all sorts of cool stuff for us, we've also got some new story content, and this comes in 2 forms. So first up, we've got new content for the end of Jammer's quest line. So if you've been following along with Jammer and Ophelia, you'll know that their stuff just kind of comes in bursts, and we're going to slowly build up towards something. Well, we've got another little bit in that. So if you've been playing through that after you've captured another settlement, or if you head back to HQ enough times, you should trigger a little conversation between Jammer and Ophelia, and that will start up another quest. So definitely head back and do that. Then for those of you who are starting up a new character who go to Jammer, you'll find that there's now a bunch of new side quests that Jammer will start offering you in the middle of the quests that you're used to from him. So we've added 5 or 6 new side quests that will pop up as you go through his quest line in the early game. So that's before you actually capture your first settlement. And the goal there, and we're going to continue to add more, is to flesh out that early leveling experience and smooth it out so that if you want to play exclusively as a raider in Fallout 4, you can do so without feeling the obligation to go do other quests in order to get enough experience to survive. So we're going to continue to flesh out that early game and give you more raidery things to do through Jammer and our other characters. So like I said, new characters that you're starting up are going to find that there are more quests to do, and we're going to find a way to get those of you who are already past that point access to that early game content. We'll come up with either some new lines for Jammer to where it would make sense for him to deliver them later, or some other way for us to give you those quests. So that is in the plans. We'll probably do that in a patch or 2. So for those of you who aren't starting new characters who want to see that new quest content without starting over again, don't worry, we'll get access to that for you guys. All right, guys, so this patch is packed full of good stuff. There's tons of stuff I didn't even talk about. Definitely read the full patch notes on our wiki. And other than that, guys, take care and enjoy the mods.